of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Thank you, Commissioner Scott. So before we begin, I don't think we have anyone that's needing to join via Zoom. Okay, so we'll just go ahead and we'll move right into it. I don't see Mayor Petrilla. Well, at this point, first of all, again, welcome and thank you to all the commissioners that are here today for a truly promising, productive meeting this morning. But we're going to go right into our awards and recognition. We don't have Mayor Petrilla here, but we do have our young bus riding author recognition this morning. And I'm going to ask Ms. Amanda, if you would, please say a few words.
Good morning, Chair and board members. My name is Amanda Baird. I'm your Director of Marketing and Communications. I am so pleased to introduce a local young children's book author this morning who recently wrote and illustrated a book called A Bus Can't Drive Empty. It is a wonderful book that got a 5-star review from the toughest literary critics I know, my own children. Without further ado, I'm going to play a brief video and then invite Mr. Devon Miller himself up to the podium to say a few words about his book.
My name is Devon Miller, and I'm a children's author and illustrator. It's very important for children to read, and especially tying it with my latest book, A Bus Can't Drive Empty. You know, this book is all about an adventure, and that's what reading is. It really is such an adventure for children because you get to experience so many things that you might not see, during the average day. You might go to a brand new world or, transport to so many different places that you never imagined before, and that really opens up the imagination for children to use in their everyday lives.
So without further ado, here is Mr. Miller.
Thank you so much, Ms. Fig Sanders and fellow PSTA members for having me here this morning. It truly is an honor to be here and to share a little bit about myself. So again, my name is Devon Miller and I'm a local children's author and illustrator. I wrote and published my first book at the age of 11. It was called Mr. Tickety Tock Clock, Goodnight Mr. Clock, and I've continued to write and illustrate and publish stories for over a decade now. My latest book that I published is called A Bus Can't Drive Empty, an alphabet alliteration adventure. It's the story of 3 zebras who are riding the bus on their way back home from school, but all of a sudden the bus runs out of gas, which leaves them and their school bus driver stranded. So now they take this grand adventure back home, but the adventure itself is told through alliteration from A to Z. I'm pleased to share that my latest book is an award-winning book that recently earned acclaim from the prestigious Next Generation Indie Book Awards. Here's what one of the judges had to say about A Bus Can't Drive Empty. A whimsical journey of alliterative alphabet-based storytelling, this book has clever and colorful and simple illustrations with an innovative collection of rhythmic words. A fun book for children and adults to enjoy together. Marcy Tenen. To share a little bit more about myself, I'm a 2024 UCF graduate, where I graduated with my bachelor's in English with a concentration in creative writing. I'm also a Sunshine Ambassador for St. Petersburg, Florida, for my efforts to support children's literacy. And my works, including A Bus Can't Drive Empty, have been highlighted and included in the Tampa Bay Rays reading program, Reading with the Rays. Thank you all so much for having me here this morning, and thank you all so much for your support.
Thank you.
So the intersection of literacy and transportation is no stranger to PSTA, and we are pleased to share that these copies of the book are going to be placed in our PSTA Book Nook, which was a leadership PSTA project to place a little free library at the Pinellas Park Transfer Center. So these will be available to our writers.
Thank you. So I don't see any requests to speak, so I'll just go ahead and jump right in. So first of all, I wanted to showcase what PSTA actually means to the community. And I also wanted to showcase that we do have such phenomenal young talent. And when I saw the book, that it was taking place on a bus, not a Ferrari, not a BMW, but an actual bus. I just wanted to say thank you to Devon, and Mr. Miller, please stand up. These are Devon's parents who have been steadfast and been a true example of promoting reading to our young people. But then when he wrote the book about a bus, of course, my PSTA mind went straight to the fact that, you're using literacy and reading and education on a bus, something transportation that all of us on the board take seriously. But we actually am really impressed, I am, that you used the bus to share your love of reading. So Devon Miller, Mr. and Mrs. Miller, Amanda, everyone, thank you for recognizing this young man. And I was telling people you wrote your first book at 14. I didn't realize it was 11. I think I met you when you were 14. And so I just really wanted to take this opportunity for my colleagues and fellow board members to actually see that we do have young people that are interested in transportation, but that we're actually being creative in the way we share our love for reading as well. So thank you so much, Mr. Miller, for being here. You need to go. Oh, we're taking a
Yeah.
picture? Oh, okay.
Alrighty, big smiles, 1, 2, 3. Thank you so much. Got it, thank you.
All right, so thank you, everyone, for that feel-good, good news moment in celebrating something that is good in transportation in Pinellas County. So did Mayor Petrilla make it?
I don't know.
Okay, I don't see him. So with that, we're going to go ahead and move on to public comment on the consent agenda or items that are not on the agenda. Please fill out a green card and get it to staff sitting at the front table. Speakers will be recognized in the order in which the cards are received. If you wish to speak on an action item, please fill out the card and you will be called when the item is presented. Are there any members of the public who wish to comment?
No.
Okay, seeing none, now we'll move on to the consent agenda. Are there any items that a board member wishes to pull from consent? Okay, can you please open the machine for voting? Okay, is that everything? Okay, consent passes 13-0. Thank you, Commissioners. Now we will go into our committee updates. First, we will hear an update about the last meeting of our Transit Rider Advisory Committee from Track Chair Gloria Lepic Corrigan. Then, since Commissioner Patty Reed is not here today, ADA Coordinator Ross Silvers will provide the local coordinating board report, followed by the Ford Pinellas report from our Vice Chair, Tom Reed. Good morning, Ms. Lepic
My name
Corrigan.
is
How are
Devon Miller.
you?
Good morning. How are you? Okay, good morning, Mr.
Good
Miller.
morning.
And Chair Fig Sanders and esteemed board members. The Transit Riders Advisory Committee met via Zoom on Tuesday, May 12th. And the meeting began with recognition of 3 departing committee members, Leanne Schneider, David Mitchell, and Emma Kelleher, and we thank them for their time, dedication, and service. Then the committee received several informational presentations. Bonnie Sato, Director of Mobility, presented the information on the mobility contracts, which I know you will be seeing today too, that will provide funding for our mobility programs. For many of the members of our committee, we use these services and they are very critical for our daily transportation needs. Then Jacob Labutka, Planning Manager, provided an overview of the Transit app. We had asked for that because we always have questions as they upgrade it and trying to use it in our day-to-day operations. He told us how we could report any issues to PSTA when we find them on the app. He also presented the upcoming June service changes. Then, in addition, Devin Deal, the Planning and Data Analyst Manager, continued discussions from a previous meeting regarding the Route 727 and potential impacts on Route 100 service. Committee members in that prior meeting had expressed concerns about possible changes affecting service to Britton Plaza and the Gandy Bridge area. And Devin explained how the Planning Department is working with HART, the Hillsborough Transit Agency, to identify solutions for the proposed service changes. The next track meeting will be held, again, on Zoom on Tuesday, the 16th of June at 4 p.m. And as always, I invite you to attend. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your report. Anyone have any questions? Seeing none, you did a phenomenal job again as well. Thank you. Now we will have Ross Silvers, who will provide the local coordinating board report.
Good morning. My name is Ross Silvers. I am PSTA's ADA officer in the Mobility Department, here with our local coordinating board report. The LCB did meet on Tuesday, May the 19th, in downtown Clearwater at the offices of Ford Pinellas. The board approved some changes to the bylaws, as well as members for the appeals committee. And then they approved some changes to the Transportation Disadvantaged Service Plan. And then we had a review of the annual rate model, which resulted in a vote to approve the new rate model pending changes that are approved by the TD Commission in Tallahassee, being insignificant for that. And if not, then there'll be email review after that. And the next meeting for the LCB will take place again in downtown Clearwater, September 21st. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone have any questions? Well, thank you, Mr. Silvers.
Welcome.
We appreciate you. Now we will have our Vice Chair, Tom Reed, to provide the Ford Pinellas report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is for the Planning Council and Metropolitan Planning Organization for Pinellas County Board Meeting Summary of May 12th of this year. The Ford Pinellas Board held this public meeting in person, May 12th, 26 at 1 p.m. The official board actions were as follows. The board approved the Advantage US 19 Phase 1 report and authorized Phase 2 to begin. The vote was 15-0. And in 2022, pertaining to this, the Tampa Bay Regional Transit Authority, T-BARTA, and Ford Pinellas evaluated the US 19 corridor to assess the feasibility of implementing express transit in Pasco and Pinellas counties. To continue this effort, in April 2025, Ford Pinellas kicked off the Advantage US 19 Investment Corridor Study to advance towards implementation. Ford Pinellas staff presented Phase 1 findings and recommendations to prepare the corridor for future transit-oriented development. The board approved the recommended regional MPO apportionment plan, vote 12-3, Commissioner Scheer, Peters, and Councilmember Menino dissenting. The recommendation for the regional MPO board apportionment includes a 25-member board with 1 seat for the CEO of Tampa International and 1 seat for the CEO of Port Tampa Bay, both regional transportation entities. The remaining seats would be apportioned to elected officials by population, with Hillsborough having 10 seats, Pinellas County having 8, and Pasco having 5. The Ford Pinellas Board also discussed the recommendation of that the 8 Pinellas County seats be apportioned as follows. 2 seats for for Pinellas County Board of County Commissioners, 2 seats for the City of St. Petersburg, 1 seat for each of the cities Clearwater, Largo, and Pinellas Park, totaling 3, and 1 seat for the small cities representation on a rotating basis. The board approved the recommended regional MPO board apportionment vote 12-3. Again, Commissioner Scherer, Peters, and Menino dissenting. And the board approved our own chair, PSTA chair, and St. Pete Councilmember Deborah Figg Sanders as the new secretary for Ford Pinellas. So congratulations. And that concludes my report, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you so much for that report. And we have any questions? Seeing none, we'll now move on to our action items. Item 6A, our mobility on demand contract renewals. First up is Ms. Bonnie Sato, the Director of Mobility, who will go over PSTA's Mobility On Demand program and present the new contracts with Uber, Lyft, and Z-Trip, the taxi provider. Good morning, Ms. Bonnie. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning, board members. I'm Bonnie Sato, Director of Mobility. And the action item I have for you today is to approve 2-year contracts with 3 1-year options for on-demand services with Z-Trip, Lyft, Uber, for a total contract amount not to exceed $32 million, and authorize the CEO to exercise the 3 1-year options. This item was unanimously approved by the Finance Committee. So PSTA has been operating innovative on-demand services since 2016, and we're actually the first transit agency to partner with Uber. Our programs have really evolved over the years, but we currently offer 5 on-demand services. We have Direct Connect, Healthy Hop, TD Late Shift, TD Tampa Bay, and our Mobility On Demand program. Our Mobility On Demand program is our largest program, both in ridership and cost. Mobility On Demand is open to all riders who have been approved for our PSTA Access service. Booking rides on MOD has been very popular with Access riders since rides are booked on demand and riders get really low response times. They can take trips, hail an Uber or Lyft, get a ride just within a few minutes, go on demand. And that's really compared to our traditional Access service where riders have to book a day in advance and have a 30-minute pickup window with that traditional Access service. So as I mentioned at the Finance Committee, these services have really transformed the lives of the riders that use these services. Riders can accept overnight jobs and know they'll have a safe way to get there with our TD Late Shift service and get to last-minute doctor's appointments with Mobility On Demand. The quotes that I have up here and what we heard from riders at the Finance Committee meeting, these are from TD Late Shift riders and Mobility On Demand, really show the importance of these programs. Riders know that these programs are unique to PSTA, and the riders are really grateful for these services. So this is a graph that I showed at our budget workshop earlier this month, and this shows the history of the total cost on just the Mobility On Demand program that uses Uber, Lyft, and local taxi and local wheelchair. So as you can see, the demand for this program has really grown in popularity over the years. We've had concerns about the growth of this program too, and we implemented guide rails back in the fall of 2024. These guide rails require riders to pay more for taking longer trips or for taking more frequent trips, more than 30 trips in the month. So these guide rails that we've implemented have really helped, you can see, level out the costs for the Mobility On Demand service. I hope you can see there's definitely a plateau in the past couple fiscal years. But Mobility On Demand is only one of the programs within PSTA's suite of mobility programs. Like I just mentioned, we have many on-demand services. The largest cost program is actually our traditional paratransit service, PSTA Access, which on the graph here is shown in the pink. The cost per trip on PSTA Access is much higher than the cost of Mobility On Demand. So I hope you can see in the table below, our cost per trip on the PSTA Access service is close to $50 per trip, while the cost of a Mobility On Demand trip is anywhere between $17 to $19 per trip. So much more expensive per trip on the Access service, much cheaper on Mobility On Demand. So if we got rid of the Mobility On Demand contracts and all PSTA Access riders could only use the traditional PSTA Access service, nearly all of the trips on the lower cost Mobility On Demand program would switch over to the higher cost PSTA Access service in the pink shown in this forecast. So if the blue MOD bar goes away, that pink PSTA Access bar really grows, increasing overall costs for the total Access service and the mobility program, or the mobility department as a whole. So while some rides would not occur if only pre-scheduled service was offered on the traditional Access program, the vast majority of the rides would occur and be done at a much greater cost cost per trip to PSTA and Pinellas taxpayers. So back to our RFP. PSTA issued an RFP for these services on March 6th, and we received 6 proposals from Onward Rides, Userve, Lyft, Uber, Z-Trip, and Transdev. Procurement staff entered into negotiations with Onward and Userve, but we did not move forward with these vendors due to their pricing not conforming with our budget. So just in closing, our on-demand programs, I really want to highlight, have been very successful. Riders really love the programs. They value and appreciate the services that we offer. These programs have given riders independence and really enhanced and improved their mobility. These programs also allow PSTA to provide services at a lower cost, and our Mobility on Demand program really frees up capacity on our PSTA Access service, which allows for more smoother trips on the Access service and allows us to provide more trips overall for paratransit. These programs are also really well known in the transit community for cutting costs and improving mobility for the riders that use them. Our Uber contract is actually their #1 piggyback contract in the U.S. So again, the action item that I have for you is to approve 2-year contracts with 3 one-year options for on-demand services for Z-Trip, Lyft, and Uber for a total contract amount not to exceed $32 million, and to authorize the CEO to exercise the 3 one-year options. Thanks so much.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Sato. Before we take public comment, are there any questions from the board for Ms. Sato? Okay, Commissioner DeBreezy.
Thank you. Part of my ignorance, but regarding your comment about if Mobility on Demand went away, those riders would shift to PSTA Access, and am I right or wrong that the projections you make are assuming that the cost per rider would stay the same? Because in my head, if more riders are on PSTA Access, it would lower the cost because there'd be more riders on the PSTA Access van, and the cost per ride would go down.
Yeah, we do assume that the cost per ride would go down a little bit. We would agree that the efficiency on the Transdev service would increase, but the cost would still remain pretty high on the PSTA Access service. So you're right, decreasing a little bit, but just not that much.
Okay. It sounds like we don't have a way of being able to identify just how much it would cost. So it's kind of forecasting a little bit. I don't know if it would go down a little bit. It depends on how many ridership, but it seems like it might go down more than what's there. But I understand your point.
Yeah, and a lot of our when on the PSA Access service, a lot of the providers that we have charge per trip, like Userve and Bay Area Metro, so that cost would remain the same.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner McCann.
I was just going to try to clarify what Commissioner DeBreezy was talking about. You pointed out that a lot of those rates are per trip, so that's not really going to change much. Is PSTA Access shared, meaning multiple people are in the van at one time, or is it one person per trip?
Well, while the PSA Access is a shared service, we pay per trip to our contractors, even if the trip is shared.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Scherer.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Are the current contracts for the service out of contract? Are they month to month? The service is not I don't have a problem with the service. I actually was in favor of it, but budget season doesn't even begin in 2 weeks, we're going to be looking at our first budget. This is a $32 million contract. Is there a reason we have to vote on this before we get a sneak peek at our first preliminary budget?
Yeah, the current contracts that we have expire in June, so we do want to continue and make sure we have contracts.
But if we approve this now, it's going to be baked into a budget that we don't get to see until later. So can we continue month to month until after we get a first look at the budget?
And if I can just interject, Commissioner, the amount that you're approving today is just the maximum 5-year value. I mean, we can make adjustments based on whatever the board decides on the budget to change the fares or change the eligibility, to do different things to make it come into line. Yeah.
No, I understand. I just,
Yeah.
I think we should make it a policy not to approve large contracts that's so close to a new fiscal year budget policy, vote. It makes me nervous.
Okay, I see no, okay, Commissioner Scott.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Brad, would it be correct to assume that all of our contracts have a no funding clause? That
Yeah.
would-
Yeah.
Okay, all
Yeah.
right. So if we ran into budget troubles, we could pull the plug if needed.
We could, and none of the value of this award is guaranteed to these companies.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Nowicki.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Ms. Sato, for the presentation. I appreciate it. Yeah, I kind of agree with what, Commissioner Scheer is talking about. I think it's, but I guess, Commissioner Scott brings up a good point, too. Piggybacking off of a little bit of Commissioner DeBreezy, but it's only one rider per a trip on PSTA access now, right?
So
you got a minibus,
yeah.
and we only do one ride, like only one person goes on a minibus that can fit 15 people.
We multi-load on the PSA Access service. Whether it's a sedan or a van, we multi-load as much as possible.
Which is how often?
I think on the TransDev service, we multi-load at least 30 to 40% of the trips are multi-loaded. Some days even more than that.
And it's still more per ride than MOD, even though we
Yes.
have 4 or 5 people on this minibus. Even though we have 4 or 5 people on this minibus, it still costs more than what a private company can do it for.
Yeah, the PSA Access service, even though we do multi-load, we can only have a few people in the van at once. I was actually just on the phone with our contractor. When we have a wheelchair on board, there's only seats for 2 ambulatory customers. So we do multi-load as much as possible. One of the reasons that the PSA Access service is much more expensive per trip than Mobility on Demand is the training that the drivers go through and just the difference between the two services. PSA Access is a door-to-door service where the drivers receive a lot of training. We meet the federal ADA requirements. There's drug and alcohol testing for all the providers. It's just a different level of service when the driver takes the customer from the door, straps them into the vehicle to the door of their destination, where Mobility on Demand is a curb-to-curb service. The driver is not required to assist, and it is just a different level of service, and that's why there's kind of the different costs.
So with the different, thank you for that explanation, that really clears up a few things. But since it's such a different level of service, is it really fair to compare the price of the two then? Like, wouldn't it be like comparing apples to oranges? It's not really a true comparison in that sense.
Well, because the services are offered as like an umbrella to our PSA Access riders have the choice of which service they want to use, PSA Access or Mobility on Demand. So it is up to them which service they can take.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem like it's a real comparison, but we're comparing them, side by side. But that's just for the minibus though, but we also have like the sedans for PSTA Access as well. And so do the customers of that receive that same level of that service of helping them to the door, if you will, or wherever they're going to help them inside? They receive that same level of service?
Yes, they do.
And so the people that, the riders that qualify for PSA Access because of their disability qualify for MOD, correct?
Yes.
But then with Uber and Lyft, those drivers aren't helping them into the door, right?
Correct. Those drivers are not required to assist to and from the door.
Yeah, it doesn't really, okay. Yeah, I mean, I think, I'll see if anybody else has any more comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Scott.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So one of the reasons that access is going to be more expensive is because, correct me if I'm wrong, but those are dedicated fleets, right?
Yes.
So they're doing only access versus these rideshare companies, this is just one of many things that they do. So
Yes.
they're not reliant on their capital cost or operating costs specifically on this program.
Correct,
So they can pick up a ride from anybody.
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Peters.
And I just want to piggyback on something Commissioner Nowicki said, and I think for this population, this is important. With Uber and Lyft, there's no background check, right? And these are some of the most vulnerable citizens, and so to have the kind of training and background screening that we have for them, I think is really important. And there's a big difference there, where a lot of people don't realize, they just don't even know that there is no background checks on those drivers. And so, and for those that are surprised, even though Uber says they do, their background check is Googling the town that the driver's in. They do not do a level 2, they don't do a true background screening, and so you just have no idea who those drivers are. So I think for a vulnerable population, it's important that they have drivers that have real background checks.
Thank you. Commissioner Walker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just need to understand kind of the objectives of the program. Is it the intent for Mobility on Demand to enhance the access offering, or is there a objective to basically offset some of the higher cost of access?
You know, I would say that it's both. We do want to offer riders an on-demand ride, improve mobility, let them take trips, last-minute doctor's appointments, and just be able to live a fuller life. But when riders do choose MOD and they don't take the trip on PSTA Access, the cost per trip to PSTA is cheaper, and so we do save money. So it's both.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Hazelton.
But it is the same population. They have a choice.
Yes.
So to Commissioner Peters' comments, this population, they have to fill out an application, which I requested yesterday. I got a copy of the application yesterday. Having a background for many years in insurance underwriting, there's so little underwriting involved with this application. I believe half of us probably could qualify to be Mobility on Demand or Access approved. There's a request, you sign permission to get medical records, but the medical records aren't obtained at the time of application. It's just signing. I mean, this is done typically in insurance, where you just sign off and say, yeah, if you want to get my medical records. If that's called post-claims underwriting, by the way, so that if something happens, then they can go back and check your record later. But my point is that there's really no listing of medications, no listing of medical conditions, and it's very lightly underwritten. So it is designed to make it, I believe, as easy as possible. And it says it's in part based on the ADA application. That's not to be confused with being an ADA application. And so it is, that's my one point is it's very easy to get approved. And then from there, that opens up two doors. Either you can do the Mobility on Demand or the Access. And to go on the Access, to several points here, it is a vehicle now that can carry 2 or 3 people. So really, to me, you divide that by 30 or 40% of 2 or 3 people, typically over the year, that's riding on the Access. So it's a per head cost, not a per trip cost, so to speak. It appears to me that you can divide that $59 by 2 or 3 and get an actual comparison of the $19 or $18 on Uber and Lyft. And then also on Uber and Lyft, I brought this up at the committee meeting, is that I feel, and speaking to our legal counsel especially, but to all of us, that it's talking about not knowing who these people are that are driving the Ubers or Lyfts, but also there's no drug and alcohol test on them. And there was one company in the bid that you serve that does alcohol and drug testing on their TNC drivers, and we did not accept expensive, and so our population, they're not only getting no background check, but they're also getting no drug and alcohol testing on the companies that were selected by PSTA, and I think that's a real concern of liability, and that we should have a waiver or some kind of a, I believe waiver is the word that was correct, when they get approved, that they sign a document or they approve to a document on the approval that says, I don't hold PSTA responsible, especially when you consider in light of what just happened in Clearwater at the ferry. And what a terrible, awful situation that was for everybody, but the liability that we immediately faced. And so I think that even if we go forward with this, I'd like to see a requirement on the approval that all the riders of the MOD, Mobility on Demand, Uber and Lyft program must waive the ability to come back on PSTA if something happens with a driver with no alcohol and drug testing and no real background check. And operating under our umbrella. I think, that's pretty apparent, and that we should address that. Also, these Uber and Lyft subsidies, and they are a subsidy. It's a Uber and Lyft subsidy programs for the public. And I'm following this very closely because of the impact it has, all over the country, certainly all over the state of Florida, as to where we're going with all this. Because basically, we're giving discounts for Uber and Lyft. Either a $5 discount or on the Direct Connect, or we are giving the discount of, the rides, how many rides? 30 rides for $4.50 a piece. You can get 30 rides on the Mobility on Demand if you choose not to use the Access Van and to go on the Mobility on Demand. That these are all funded, of course, by our property tax dollars. Isn't that true, Brad?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're taking property tax dollars, which has been in the news a lot, and this is funding these $32 million contracts. And the rides are then reported to the National Transit Database. Is that true, Brad? On this new contract, did you say at the committee meeting the other day that now we're on this new 5-year, which is going forward, that these rides, and it's just getting more and more popular, that these rides now with no income verification, no background checks, no drug and alcohol testing, but these now are being able to be reported to the National Transit Database as unlinked passenger trips towards more and more capital grants. So I think there's a lot going on here, and I hope that I'm not boring you all, but I have put a lot of time into trying to understand this. And I've gone back over the few years and seen what's happened in the last 5 year of contracts, because the board was asked several times to continue to up more and more money as it became, now, putting the brakes on the program through having $1 per mile, or only the first 30 trips a month at $4.50, which I think is very generous. And so I'm just throwing all this out here because I did a lot of research that I wanted to share, that's all. So I'm not trying to be a problem. I'm trying to just tell you what I've learned about all of this, and even to bring in maybe perhaps some of my background as far as underwriting. And there's easy underwriting, there's hard underwriting, there's also post-claims underwriting. So there's all kinds of underwriting, but this has got a very small underwriting involved. So it makes it easy to get on the program, and that's what I have to say. Thank you for, Chair, indulging me, if you will. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Hazelton. Commissioner DeBreezy.
Thank you. and I agree with a lot of what was said here today. I mean, generally, I like the service. I think government should do good in a lot of ways. I mean, but to a previous comment regarding, so we have a contract, all of the policies around the contract, around this service, around MOD, are within the control of PSTA, whether it be eligibility, cost, number of trips per month that are going to be allowed. All of that can, that this board can make adjustments to it without impacting this contract at all. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And regarding the 30 trips a month, so if they go back and forth, is that 2 trips or 1 trip?
That is 2 trips.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Peters. No, I'm sorry, Commissioner Weaver. My apologies.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I don't want to undermine the importance of this program, obviously. But if the board were to turn down this particular agenda item, what is your course of action? Is there a month-to-month contract that will go into effect with whomever is providing the service? I'm just wondering what becomes of this if it goes back, to be reviewed for possible change or alteration.
I think we can look at a month-to-month continuing the service, but likely without contracts, we would need to end all of our on-demand services.
Okay, so it would basically come to a halt for the people that are using it at this moment. Is it typical, and you have to indulge me since I'm probably the newest member on the board, is it typical to bring the agenda item, this close to the contract termination date, or did something happen that causes the timeframe to be so short?
No, this was our procurement schedule. I think this is pretty common.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Peters.
Thank you. So I want to thank Ms. Hazelton for all that work, because I really appreciate that. And you mentioned things that I hadn't thought of. And I think that waiver is a really good idea. So I don't know if you need board action on that or what you need, but I think you're spot on that. And I'm kind of disappointed we didn't go with the company that does offer the drug and alcohol testing, particularly for this population. So I think that waiver is very smart, and if you need a motion or something like that to add that, I would like to make that. I actually would think Barb made that motion when she said it, and I'd like to second that, because I think that's very important, the liability issue. And I think you said a lot more stuff that was really important, but you said so much that I didn't get it all. So I would love it if you wanted to throw out some points about what your research said and send it to us, because you said a lot and I didn't get it all. But if that's what we need, Madam Chair, is a motion and a second for that waiver, I would like to move forward on that.
So is the motion that's being put forth, the recommended motion, conditioned upon the waiver language being included in that contract?
Well, that would suggest that we're approving the contract.
Ready.
I just want to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion that regardless of the outcome of our meeting today, that any movement forward would include a waiver.
Two different things.
Okay, so the motion is for any future contract with MOD.
TNC,
Okay, to include a waiver,
yes.
the waiver language, okay.
Waiver language that you would draw up that would be impervious.
But the current motion on the floor now is this action item.
No, she
there
just
hasn't been a
clarified.
motion.
There hasn't been a motion, but that's what the discussion is, on this
Yes.
action item. Okay.
Is that, what-
Okay.
yes, I believe
Okay.
that would be
So
the.
she's
We
making
can
a
go
motion.
forward with discussing what to do with the contract,
Okay.
but regardless of what we do with the contract, that it would include.
Okay. Giving the floor back to Commissioner Peters.
So I don't know if we want to vote on that or wait till this is over, but I think this is very important. It should be included, and I really appreciate that she brought this up and all the work that she did to do that. I think it's important for the organization.
I agree with that. We're going to hold that motion until we complete this, and then we'll bring it back. Okay? Is that okay?
That's okay.
All right, so it's okay, because we do have some members of the public that need to speak. Commissioner Scott.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So just doing some quick math here, assuming I did it correctly, which is always questionable. But the average access ride over the last 5 years was $49.90, and the average MOD ride was $18.18. So to break that down to like a break-even per person cost, we'd have to have a load factor of 2.74 people in every access ride to have the same cost with MOD. So basically, at that point then, if we guaranteed we had 3 people in every access ride, then our cost would be lower on access than it would be on MOD. So I don't know how realistic that is, but I just kind of question if the MOD went away, would we get there?
Well, I think we'd have to, I don't really think it's possible to have such a high efficiency. Like I mentioned earlier, each van, if it has 1 wheelchair passenger on it, we can only fit 2 ambulatory customers. I think we're improving with efficiency every day, and if for some reason the MOD program went away, we would see efficiency increase on the platform hour fleet, but I really just don't think that we would get anywhere over 1.5 trips per hour. I think it's getting a little confusing because some of our vendors charge per trip, like Bay Area Metro and USERV, which we do have a contract with, whereas TransDev, we pay by platform hour. So the more efficient we make the TransDev service, the lower the cost per trip. But I personally just don't think that we can get that high of an efficiency to, like you said, break even with MOD.
Okay, well, as we look towards the future, I'd like to kind of keep that sort of in, top center there, because if we could get to that point, then access would be less expensive per person than MOD, and we could save money in the long run. So,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe we can't do it today, but in the future, I think that's something that we should always be looking for.
Yeah, we are always looking to make our TransDev platform hour fleet as efficient as possible.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. We're going to go to our last commissioner comment before we go into public comment. Commissioner Walker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just in terms of the business model, we're satisfied that the demand for mobility on demand is sufficient to justify this. This is something that, and I'm hoping we might get some public input on that, but you're satisfied with that?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And like we've talked about, we have the levers to adjust, the ridership, who's eligible, how many rides people get on different programs. So that's all within our control.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So now we have several speakers here this morning who wish to speak on this item. I will call you up in the order the cards were submitted to me. Please state your name and address for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes. And I do have cards. Commissioner Hazelton, I saw your name just come up. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Since this program, if you go on the website, you can request an application, and as I said, that makes you, once you're approved, that makes you eligible for either the vans, the access, or for mobility on demand. And so I'm wondering if, due to the nature of the service being medically necessary, medical qualification, medical, that the trips only be for medical. So in other words, the Uber rides and the Lyft rides, you would have to have a purpose for that ride. It can't just be going to TJ Maxx. So is that something that would be something we should discuss as far as the use of the service?
To answer your question about the
Yeah,
ADA
thank you.
paratransit service and PSA access, so to become a member of the PSA access service, riders do have to have a disability that prevents them from riding the fixed route bus. What the ADA doesn't look at is, hey, if you just have, you need to go to dialysis, or if you have diabetes, specific medical conditions, that doesn't, automatically get you in or disqualify you from the PSA access service. It's based on function, whether you can board the bus or not. So we have some riders that are, 90 years old and they have conditions, but they're able to walk to the bus and they ride the bus every day. It's really based just on function. So riders, they do fill out a paper application, and we don't ask about specific medical conditions. We ask about, how do you travel? What prevents you really from riding the bus? How far can you walk unassisted? Do you need assistance? What kind of devices do you use? And then we don't just have the paper application. Riders go through a mobility consultation with the members of the mobility team, where we talk more in depth about the rider's ability to use the bus. And if we still have questions about, could they use the bus, then we do actually contact the medical provider that they put in the paper application. With that being said, the ADA paratransit doesn't allow us to discriminate on trip need or trip reason.
Okay.
Once customers are eligible for the access service, they kind of use it like the bus. So a bus rider can ride, wherever they need to go when the bus is available. The same is available for a PSA access customer.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so thank you for that. And I listened to all of my colleagues, and we are going to go into public comment, but I definitely want to state for the record, Ms. Sato, that my 83-year-old twins, my mom and my aunt, use PSTA access. And it is a phenomenal service, when they get the appointment times right. But I want to also make sure that we are confirmed in the fact that we are not questioning any HIPAA practices, that we are remaining mindful that all disabilities are not seen, and that we are here to provide transportation access to the constituents. So I just don't want us to leave that out there on the floor as we compare all of our numbers to some values of the MOD cannot be measured. So with that being said, I want to again read, we have several speakers, and if you would like to speak, I'll call you up in the order of the cards that were submitted to me, and I need you to please state your name and address for the record. You will have 3 minutes, and if there's anyone in the public wishes to speak other than the cards that I have, please make sure you get them to the front table. So I'm going to call, and please forgive me if I butcher your name, Jerry Sisia, if you would please come and state your name and address. Can someone assist her with the microphone?
Hi, my name is Jerry Sisia. I wasn't going to talk today, but I did fill out a card. I've used both Access and Mobility on Demand. As you see by my white cane, I am blind. I use the walker because I have multiple sclerosis. I live by myself, so there's no one there to take me places. I've used Access and Mobility. Before I went to the eye doctor in the early morning hours to Bayfront, they pick me up like at 6 o'clock in the morning and then pick up people that are having dialysis. That was a share ride. But I generally got to my appointments on time. They'd take them to dialysis and get me over there. Then I found that lately using Access, I'd be late to my appointments. So I'm basically using Mobility on Demand now. It's been easier, but Access is always available for me to use. But it's easier to use the Mobility on Demand. I explained to a couple of the people that are here that one time I used the Access to get to a meeting. I always planned like an hour ahead of time to give me time to get there. Then they picked up people, took them to Morton Plant Hospital, picked them up at home, then took them there. I'm still in the van. Then they had to go get somebody at dialysis to bring them home, and they weren't ready. Now it's an hour and a half since I left home, and I'm still not to where I'm supposed to be. And the driver is called in to the PSTA and said, I've had somebody in the van for an hour and a half and they're still late to their appointment. Well, they said, wait for your dialysis person, then take them home. That didn't help me. So thank goodness for the gentleman. He made an executive decision and he got me to my appointment. I was an hour late, but at least I got there. Then he went back to take care of the other patient. So there's advantages and disadvantages. But for me, and I think other people that are here, mobility on demand is very important to us. If you have an eye problem or a serious medical problem and you call your doctor, they say, get here today, you can't use access. You need mobility on demand to get there today. So that's about all I can say is I appreciate mobility on demand and I also like the access. But the share ride sometimes can be difficult. You have to plan so much longer to get your ride. You know, like you make your reservation for access to be there for 9 o'clock. Well, what time do you want to be picked up? I don't know how long it's going to take me at my appointment as the doctors or what they're going to do. So now I use access and then mobility on demand to get back home. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much for being here. Our next speaker is Ms. Leona Williams.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Leona Williams, and I'm here in regards to what Mobility on Demand has done for me. My husband passed away. I became my sole dependent. It's just me that have to depend on myself to go and get whatever I need. Whether I'm going to my medical doctors, my eye doctors, emergencies. When I go to my eye doctors, I have 2 that I have to see. There are times where I have to call. I wake up in the middle of the night and I have problems with my eye. I'm completely blind in this eye, but in my left eye, I'm severely, legally blind. They call me blind. I have to go. I go ahead and get dressed because I know when I call, because I wake up, I can't see nothing. And I'll call them. I can call Mobility on Demand. They get me right there, because no matter where they are, whether they're in Largo, Clearwater, South St. Pete, wherever they are, that's where I have to go to get my care. And that's Mobility on Demand has given me that independency to be able to do that. Also, Mobility on Demand give me my independency to be able to go get my groceries that I can only get for myself. It gives me the independency to be able to go to urgent care. I've had earaches. I've had real bad severe stomach aches where I needed to go to urgent care the next day. And having Mobility on Demand gave me that security to know that I would be able to go, because it wasn't a 911 call where I can call 911 for them to attend to me. So going to urgent care through Mobility on Demand was a great opportunity for me to get my care, to get physical care. Also, Mobility on Demand has given me an opportunity where I can get my groceries, my necessary items for my home, where I live alone, and it's just me. I have nobody, it's me. So Mobility on Demand not only has provided me with being able to get care as a human being, it gives me mental stability. It's for my mental health to know that I can get somewhere immediately to get the things that I need, get the care that I need. And it's very important, mental-wise, where you can get out and you can go and get yourself taken care of.
Thank you so much, Ms.
Thank
Williams.
you.
Can you provide your address for us for the record, please?
Yes, ma'am. It's 1100 East Bay Drive, Unit 26, Largo, 33770.
Thank you so much, and thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you for listening. And please consider keeping mobility on demand the way it is now.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Ms. Donna Zuslag. Did I say that correctly? And as you come to the mic, please state your name and your address for the record, please.
My name is Donna, and thank you all so much for letting us come to your meeting today.
Can you please state your address for us, Ms. Zuslak, please?
Oh, you want my address? 2448 Columbia Drive, Unit 28, Clearwater, Florida, 33763.
Thank you.
Mobility on demand and access, they are my lifeline. I don't have family close. They're not even in Florida. So I'm 83, and I have about 8 to 10% of my vision left. And like I said, it is my lifeline. So, like everybody else here, we're all on a limited income, and it helps me financially just to be able to have the privilege of traveling with so many nice people that pick me up and drop me off. And I just thank God that I have that privilege, and I can't afford to lose it. So I hope that you all can put yourself in some of our shoes and see what vision lost and mobility getting around is gone. We need this help. I just thank you all for letting us come today and the privilege of letting us speak, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So our next speaker is Ms. Gloria Lepic Corrigan.
Hi again.
Hello.
As I destroy the furniture. Sorry. Hi, I'm Gloria Lepic Corrigan, and I'm 2595 Countryside Boulevard, Clearwater. And I was listening to the comments by the board when we were talking about this, and what I wanted to say first off is that I know that the Transit Riders Advisory Committee has invited board members to ride with them. And I really, today, when I heard some of the comments, I invite all of you, I would love to ride with any of you on the access rides, on the buses, so you see the actual effects of things. You talk about, group trips. What ends up happening if you have someone in a wheelchair on an access van, a lot of the people who are signed up, who can use MOD taxis for their rides, they are not able to climb into those vans. And so the number of times where I've had to they have had to take me out of the van so that they can use a manual wheelchair to take somebody up into the van so they can sit on the bench seat and then put me back in. The time, first of all, you've added now, what, half an hour to a trip? And it's just not as nearly as time effective or cost effective. Again, I'd love to have you all see that, and I don't mean to, digress on that particular item, but that was a big deal for me when you were talking about that. What I said at the Finance Committee is that I've lived in Pinellas County twice. When I lived here originally, I was driving, walking, doing everything. We moved back here 12 years ago. By this point, I was in a wheelchair. And we chose to come back to Pinellas County because of the excellent infrastructure here. The PSTA programs are an umbrella, and I know I use different ones at different times. I use fixed route buses, I use Access, I use MOD. And again, you talk about the cost, I just booked a trip where I had to use a wheelchair transport type function from Tampa to here. $212 to go from Tampa Airport to my home near Countryside Mall. It's not like we're talking about just, chump change for people when they have to use other services besides the programs that are offered by PSTA. I love the TD Tampa Bay program because we, as transit riders, know where the county lines are. You, as drivers, are not always aware of the challenges that people face when they either have disabilities or financial reasons why they can't, why they're not driving. So again, I invite every single one of you to ride with me and see what the actual life is of someone as a transit rider, as a mobility on demand rider, as an access rider. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Our next speaker is it Joan or Joanne Zucker? We have quite a few.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Joanne Zucker. I live at 39650 US 19 in Tarpon Springs. One thing I would like to bring to your attention is something I read off the PSTA website. The title is called The Future of PSTA, PSTA's Essential Services. So how essential is PSTA? We'd say pretty damn essential. It then goes on to say how it's essential. It's essential because it not only provides medical rides, it provides transportation to work. If I did not, and I use Access to go to work, but because my job changes and I cannot rely on Access on the way home because I'm at client's house, I do have to rely on MOD. Okay, I can't, if I don't know if a client is going to cancel, then, and if I booked an Access ride and I'm not there, I get dinged a no-show. And then I still would have to take MOD. If not, then I'd probably have to pay 50 or 60 or more to go from a client's house to home or back to the office. The other thing I want to say that was talked about this morning is the cost of PSTA Access when there's 3 or 4 people on that trip. What you need to know is a good percentage of the people that take that trip also have a personal care attendant with them. So that takes away from another person who would be a paid patron. So think about that. For example, my husband who's in a wheelchair. If he needs to go somewhere, and his wheelchair is manual. And I don't know, getting him in and out of a seat, he's a fall risk. Therefore, somebody needs to be with him. And I don't think a driver wants to be responsible if he falls out of his wheelchair. Okay? So keep that in mind as well. And yes, we do use TD Tampa Bay occasionally. Sometimes he's my personal care assistant if I can't see, and I'm his personal care attendant because I have to push his chair. And then he directs me where to go. The other thing is, this morning I took Access to work. I got picked up in Tarpon Springs. I never left Dunedin until 6:30. I got picked up at 5:34. Then we went all the way down to a dialysis near Gandy Boulevard before dropping me off back in Largo. I spent an additional 19 and a half minutes in that ride when I could have gotten dropped off first. I was 8 minutes late to work today. And I originally changed from being picked up time to arrive by time, and I'm still late. But late occasionally is much better than late every day for 3 months, where I then switched so that I can get picked up way earlier than I really need to still spend an hour and a half or longer in a ride. Although this morning it was an hour and 12 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next, we have Stephen Christen.
Good morning. My name's Stephen Christen. I live at 5539 56th Way North. I want to thank you for the MOD program and the Access program. And I do use the most expensive one, Access, but I try not to. I try to use Mobility on Demand. One, it gets me to my location faster. But if I have to use the most expensive one, and sometimes we do more than frivolous trips, all right? We do go shopping, buy food, go to the doctor. I'm a victim of what my doctor calls the silent thief of sight, glaucoma. No sensation, no feeling. All of a sudden, like yourself, I was sighted, your sight is gone. I'd like you to put yourself in our position. What it's like to go through and navigate a world that's very difficult. We do appreciate your programs. Your programs are providing more than giving us a way to get to the doctors and to get food. They're actually saving lives. It is dangerous for us or any pedestrian, as you can know, is trying to navigate the streets, going from door to door in the less expensive MOD program. Keeps me from trying to navigate through 2 or 3 lanes trying to get to a bus stop. Through cars the electric cars where you can no longer hear. So yeah, we're trying to go ahead and use our senses, only asking for the tools that we can go through and exist and have some independence. So part of your decision today is based on safety. These are not just frivolous trips that we're going on. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our next speaker is Ms. Mary Castor. If you please state your name and address.
Hi, my name is Mary Castor. I live at 13940 Winona Heights Drive in Largo. I appreciate all the services. I've been legally blind since birth, retinopathy of prematurity, and so I've lived in a sighted world and have navigated it. And it's with the challenges. My vision has worsened over the past maybe 7 or 8 years. And these services, the MOD services and the access are very important. About 8 years ago, my husband and I were considering moving to Florida, retiring. Well, my husband has since passed, but I remember being proactive. I was a social worker, that was my career. So I was proactive, and I called the Department of Transportation in Tallahassee and spoke with a gentleman that handled ADA transportation. And, I explained, what I needed, and he really thanked me. He said, you're very proactive. We get many people that move to Florida, they don't look into this, and then they call saying, well, I'm out, and I need this, that, and the other thing, and it was never researched, they never researched it. So I told them, I was considering Pinellas County. He said that's an absolutely excellent location for transportation services, and it really has been. I will tell you a story about access. I was using MOD. I've been here a couple years. I bought my villa about 3 years ago. So I've used MOD. I scheduled access. This is my one-time experience with it. I got a confirmation that they were coming. I needed to get to the airport. I'm waiting outside, my villa, no access, no access. I tried getting a hold of PSTA, but it was too early. It was too early. They weren't at the phones yet. And I had to get another way to the airport, which I had to pay Uber the full fee. But when I got to the airport, I was kind of late. I almost didn't make it, but I did make it. And when I got on the plane, I either was calling them or they called me, and they said I was a no-show. They said they came by. Well, they came by like I would have missed my flight. They came by like an hour or something later. So this MOD is very, is very efficient to get to a doctor's appointment last minute, pharmacies, and things that you can't plan ahead for. And I just really appreciate, I hope you vote in favor of continuing the contracts. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that. Our next speaker is Tiffany Stafford.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tiffany Stafford. My address is 8504 60th Street. Thank you for being here to listen to the voices of communities who do not drive. I first want to say that if I wanted to go to TJ Maxx, I deserve the right to have the equal opportunity to go to TJ Maxx. Before that, anyways. I've been visually impaired all my life and unable to drive. I'm keenly aware of the inequalities that people with disabilities face on a daily basis from personal experience. I currently work at the Lighthouse of Pinellas, and my job is to promote independence among the visually impaired community. Mobility on Demand has made independence possible for many people who can't drive. MOD has given us a sense of pride and autonomy. Simple things such as shopping for my own groceries or visiting family has added fulfillment to my life. My mental health has increased tremendously from this service. Most people don't have a family member to drive them or can forfeit the cost of a regular Uber or Lyft. Everyone, please pause and picture someone that is close to you who has a disability or who is elderly. It may be your grandparents, a friend, or even your own mother. These people who you care about amongst our communities deserve to have a quality of life despite having a disability. Picture that same person whose quality of life could be taken away. How would you feel if you had to tell them that? I implore you to think hard about how many people whose quality of life will be negatively impacted if the Uber and Lyft contract isn't approved. I am speaking on behalf of my client and myself when I say that MOD has made our lives easier, and not approving this contract will produce yet another barrier that prevents us from feeling equal. I teach my clients to advocate for themselves, and I encourage you to be an advocate and approve this contract. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Our next speaker is Mr. Jim Warman.
Appreciate that. Thank you, sir. Thank you. My name is Jim Warman. I live in Crystal Beach. And first of all, I'd like to thank all you board members for giving us the opportunity to let you know of our problems and how much we need mobility on demand. I live in Crystal Beach, and we don't even have sidewalks on my street. I'm about 1.5 miles to get to alternate 19. So I live in a difficult area. However, I really want to thank you folks for giving us this opportunity, because I know that without mobility on demand, so many people would be in a grave trouble trying to get from one person to another, or medical appointments, so many things that are really important to us. But I know from time to time, I've had some problems with the trip has been canceled or delayed or an hour late. But I'll tell you the truth, I thank God we at least get there and have that opportunity. I'm not here to complain, because I'm sure, things happen with vehicles. They might have a flat tire, or a car get disabled for some reason. But I just want to thank God that we have mobility on demand. And I won't go on and on, because I'm totally blind. I live by myself. And I just want to thank all you board members. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Our next speaker is Walter Meyer.
Hello, my name is Walter Meyer. I live in Palm Harbor. I'm also the Vice President of Pinellas Council of the Blind. It is very humbling to lose your sight. I lost my sight at 60 years old. I'm 67 now, and for the longest time, I was in limbo because I knew nothing about getting around without sight. What Mobility on Demand does is helps us mentally. It helps us with our independence. And without that, we would be in dire straits. Just today, coming here, I looked at the price of a regular Uber ride. So just in case Maud wasn't here, it would have cost me between $70 and $80 for me to come here and voice my opinion for 3 minutes. I don't know anybody in this room that could afford that every day. As far as the doctor's appointments only, we do everything that you do every day. We go shopping, we go to the pharmacy, we have doctor's appointments, we go out together to lunch. It's all a mental health thing. And like I said, we appreciate your service. As far as the expense goes, I had a few things about that as well. If Maud went bye-bye tomorrow, would you people right here ready to sign a check for the expense of expanding access? I mean, it costs more for a reason. All these people are trained, the equipment that you need to buy, it's a very big expense. You know it, I know it, everybody knows it. As far as the background checks and all that stuff, yes, we do know about that. And we do know about the no alcohol checks. But this seems to be a Tallahassee problem. When I lived up in New York and was working, I had a commercial driver's license. I got random tested like every other month. It wasn't really random, but it was what happened. But, if Tallahassee would get on the ball and, Uber and Lyft is a statewide entity, they're working statewide, why can't they put the regulations on where they have to be drug tested and they have to do the background checks to our satisfaction? Otherwise they don't do business here and somebody else will step in. Other than that, I'm just grateful to you guys, and hopefully you'll vote to keep Maud. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Now, I can't read the last name on this card. Eugene Badke?
Yes. You got it right.
Oh, okay. Thank you. If you would, Mr. Badke, please come and state your name and address for the record.
My name is Eugene Batke. It's like the Batman's key that goes to the car. I live at 1720 Greenlee Drive, Clearwater, Florida. Been a resident of Pinellas since 1998, born and raised in Lakeland, Florida. Madam Chairman and distinguished board members, I used to be the president of the Pinellas Council for 6 years, and I can tell you that the members, they depend upon transportation. I depend upon it. I am legally blind. Actually, I'm totally blind. I lost my vision in 2006. I had to give up my license. And I've been through 2 knee surgeries. In fact, just got through getting the surgery on April the 8th. And I appreciate all that PSTA does for us as far as transportation. I'm a member of the American Council of the Blind. And every time they talk about transportation, I always bring up how great our transportation is here in Pinellas. The people that I talk with via Zoom, they wish that their communities had the transportation that we have. Appreciate all that you all do for us. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And our last speaker is it Kim Pittman or Ken Pittman?
It's Dittman.
Oh, Dittman. Okay, I couldn't tell. That's quite all right. You're welcome.
Okay.
If you would, just state your name and address for the record.
Sure. I kind of have 2 addresses. My permanent resident address is 6500 Sunset Way, St. Pete Beach. And I work at the Disability Achievement Center here in Largo. And I just wanted to first and quickly say thank you all for being here today. Thank you for your service. And I'm a transportation user with PSTA and Mobility on Demand. And I really admire all of you coming today to share your stories. And they're very empowering, and I don't have much to add to those stories because I think they've said it all to y'all. I would like to share with the young adult community, a lot of schools' children use Mobility on Demand. Parents are having their work schedules. They cannot ride the school buses. It's a difficult situation. I have a large young adult group that attends my classes at the center. Some come from schools, some come from homes, some come from medical appointments and whatnot, and allows them to come to our Center for Independence and Leadership and Advocacy. But a long story, I really do appreciate you all, and with that being said, please keep in mind Mobility on Demand. I know it is a lifeline for a lot of people. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Dittman. Seeing no further cards, Commissioner Nowicki.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And before I make a motion, I just want to genuinely appreciate the riders who came forward and shared their experience with this program. It's clear that the service has helped many residents, particularly individuals with disabilities and workers traveling, non-traditional ways. I don't think anyone on this board wants to pull the rug out from people who come to rely on mobility services. At the same time, I think it's our responsibility as policymakers to make sure we're balancing compassion with accountability and innovation with long-term fiscal sustainability. My concern isn't whether this program helps people. Clearly it does. My concern is making sure we fully understand the long-term operational and financial implications before entering into a larger multi-year commitment. I believe we owe it to the taxpayers and riders alike to continuously evaluate whether we are operating our broader transit and access systems as efficiently and effectively as possible, if there are opportunities to improve routing, increase occupancy where feasible and appropriate, reduce duplication, or better maximize existing resources while maintaining ADA compliance and service quality, then I think we have an obligation to explore those opportunities. So with that, I would make a motion to approve a one-year agreement with the selected Mobility on Demand vendors with a total contract amount not to exceed $6 million rather than the broader multi-year authorization currently proposed. As part of that motion, I would direct staff to return to the board within 1 year for recommendations for measurable performance guardrails prior to any further renewal or expansion. and any operational efficiency and review of traditional PSTA access system, including opportunities to improve efficiencies and increase the average passenger occupancy per vehicle where feasible, appropriate, and ADA compliant, with the goal of maximizing the taxpayer value while maintaining service quality for riders. At the same time, request staff evaluate and implement a waiver for MOD and PSA access drivers that is subject to this board's approval. Thank you.
Commissioner McCann.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd be curious to hear from legal about whether there would be value in having a waiver for the riders. I understand certain claims like gross negligence can't be waived. I suspect our contract already has indemnification provisions. If there's value to a waiver, I'm going to support that. If we're just making another hoop for our riders to jump through that doesn't provide value, then I'm not going to support that. Commissioner Hazelton commented about the application not requiring much evidence. I understand there are additional steps beyond that for riders to qualify. I don't think that's the final say in whether somebody qualifies. But I'm going to be, bottom line, I'm going to oppose Commissioner Nowicki's motion for a one-year contract. I think this is a no-brainer. This is the best option we have here. Let's not drag these people back out here next year to do this again. Let's go ahead and approve the full term of the contract. But with that being said, I'll say this. This program is expensive and inefficient, and it's a Band-Aid. It does not solve the underlying problem. And the underlying problem is that we've been designing communities for decades under the false assumption that everybody's going to drive for every trip. And when we do that, this is one of the many, many costs of that type of system, is that we disenfranchise large portions of the population. We also create a public health epidemic in the form of vehicle crashes that cost 96 Pinellas residents their lives last year. Tons of other negative externalities to this system. So to me, the solution is zoning reforms that make it legal to build communities in ways that your housing is closer to your medical appointments, is closer to your jobs. That's currently illegal to build right now. So that's the solution. In the meantime, until we legalize that kind of development, like what our grandparents grew up with, until we do that, this is the cost. And so I'm going to be supporting it until we can accomplish meaningful zoning reform in Pinellas County. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Seeing no further requests to speak, I do know that we have an action item and we had another motion put before us. And so do we need to vote on the original before I make my comment so that I'm clear? Do we need to vote on the original action item on the floor or the proposed motion now?
So you don't have a proposed motion on the original action item. Right now, all you have is a motion on the floor as to the approving the one-year contract. So
Okay.
the question is whether or not there's a second to that motion and then a vote, or if there's no second.
Then we move on. Okay, so thank you for that clarification. And I will say this. I had the experience with PST Access. Today is Wednesday, Monday. Or was it Monday? Or was it yesterday? My aunt had a doctor's appointment at 9 o'clock. PSTA Access picked her up, I want to say 7:30. She got to the appointment. The appointment was over and done. My mom worried to death, standing in the door, wondering, where is her twin? Why isn't she here? It's 11 o'clock now. Why isn't she here? Well, PSTA Access had her scheduled from a 9 o'clock dentist appointment, dentist appointment at 1 o'clock. So now you have an 83-year-old on a walker, severely disabled, waiting on the PSTA Access transportation. Now, in my mind, MOD was, she had family members that were, oh my God, we're on our way to pick you up. But a lot of these people here don't have that option. Do not have that option. It gives me comfort that I can be and do things like this, knowing that they have transportation to come and go, to do what they need to do, to have their own independence. See, a lot of us are not at that age yet, where we're not dependent on others to help us get to and from. A lot of us are not at that age yet, where we're not concerned with how we're going to meet the final necessities of where we need to be to sustain. We have a lot of speakers that were here that are independent. They have no one. And I thank God that I have a family that is here for me to handle this. I know that and as Commissioner McCann said, it's a Band-Aid. But my goodness gracious, what a Band-Aid it is for so many people that are here that need to have transportation. If there's something that we need to address in regards to the costs, the rides, the scheduling, I think that that's something that we need to take on as a commission. We need to start having those conversations. But what I don't want is for our community to hear us make statements that we don't deserve to go to TJ Maxx. We don't deserve to live a life that is promised or available to all of us that are here. That's not our job, is to tell us where we can and where we cannot go. And I do understand that we have cost analysis that we need to remain fiscally responsible for and definitely aware of. But until that is gone, until those abilities are gone, I'm listening and I'm hearing, but then I'm also in disbelief about some of the comments that I've heard. So we have a motion on the floor that Commissioner Nowicki would like for us to go. It was a long motion. I can't repeat what it was. It was a real long one. That is the motion on the floor. Do we have a second? Failure to receive the second, that motion is died. Council, oh God, Commissioner Floyd, I see you have a request to speak.
Thank you. I just wanted to explicitly ask a question that Commissioner McCann said to legal. I know you haven't obviously had any time to research it, but do you feel that there could be some value added from some sort of waiver? Yeah.
So right now, in the contract, there is an indemnification provision. So to the extent that you are contracting with very viable companies, that they would stand by their indemnification provisions. And therefore, that provides PSTA, I think, kind of the greatest protection. There may be a waiver that can be drawn up. I would say it's more of an assumption of risk. And then that's something that I would need to look into. But I understand, the will of the board, or at least the conversation that's gone on so far, that you'd like to see that if that would be beneficial to PSTA, that be included in the contract.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think my comments to that would be twofold. First, I would like to have it reported back to us, how you feel about accomplishing it, what you think it could do for us. That kind of thing. And then second, I would just hope that it would be, the lowest barrier to entry. Something very simple, a signature, and we can move on. I don't see why it couldn't be. But I would want to have more details on that later on. Beyond that, I see what looks to me like, a contract written for 2 years. I know we had a motion for 1 year, and then we have the 3-year options after that. So I do feel it's quite flexible as is. But having said that, the stories we're hearing from Access from everyone today lead me to think that, regardless of this, how this moves forward, we need to fix some things about Access. That's kind of what I'm feeling. I don't see why we can't continue with this service and the contract before us and do that at the same time, because we need to provide these services. But I would love for us to have more in-depth conversations going forward on access in general. I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner DeBreezy.
Thank you. Commissioner Floyd said a few of the things I wanted to say, but, I didn't second Commissioner Nowicki's motion because there's parts that I agree with and there's parts that I don't, so I didn't want to do it as a whole. But to what was just said, I do think there needs to be a policy review of PSA access. And if there needs to be a motion to direct staff to come back to us with different options, then I'll make that. But as it was said earlier by Commissioner Scheer, it's hard to make this decision outside of the budget. We don't know what our budget's going to be for next year just yet. We don't know what property tax is going to look like. So, I think that, that needs to be part of this discussion because I would hate to approve this and then give the folks that are here and the other riders a sense of comfort knowing that this is going to continue, and then we run into a budget issue and we have to essentially make changes or even pull the rug out from under them. This should be timed up better. And I don't know if there's any recourse we can do that, but, there were, and I said, I agree with the service. I think we should be doing something like this, but, the guardrails that are in place and, I heard a couple of comments and great for the folks that are working for the agencies that are seeing clients and helping others with disabilities. But, we need to discuss that their employers should be perhaps, help subsidize that. So there's lots of changes I think we need to look at this and make it a more efficient service and while keeping it effective for the rider. So like I said, I know Bonnie came back up again. I don't know if there's a way, the original discussion about backing this up until we have a better idea of our budget and, other options for us to look at there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Did you have anything you wanted to respond to?
Just saying that the contract that we have on the table is, like Brad mentioned, it's just a not to exceed 32 million. We're not saying, hey, Uber or Lyft or Z-Trip there's no guaranteed amount for any of the vendors. So we have the control for each of the programs on how much we spend. It's dependent on the budget. This is just a cap not to exceed 32 million.
You good, Commissioner DeBreezy? Yes. Okay, thank you. Commissioner Scheer.
Thank you, Chair. Just a point of order, I'm a little confused. I thought before the public comment that Commissioner Hazelton had made a motion and it had been seconded by.
Yeah. No, we wanted to handle this first. Hers was for the waiver.
Uh-huh.
Hers was for the waiver.
Right.
So we haven't voted on that yet. I haven't forgotten.
Okay, I just thought.
No, I haven't forgotten.
I thought.
I haven't forgotten. I wanted to get through this before we added that.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Commissioner McCann.
Thank you. I just want to formally move approval for the recommended action item. I'll humbly suggest that it's a little premature today to have a vote on a waiver for this program until we hear from legal about whether that would be beneficial and hear from staff about how exactly it'd be implemented and whether that would be burdensome for the users of the service. My humble suggestion. Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor for the original action item inclusive of a waiver. Did I hear that correct?
Absent of a waiver.
Oh, absent of a waiver. I thought you included the waiver. Okay, because I myself do also agree with the waiver. So how do we do that?
So you have a motion on the floor. If there's a second, then you would hear that, you would take a vote on the item. You had said previously that you wanted to handle the waiver issue separate and apart. So after this, you would then take up that item as well.
Okay, so the original motion does not include a waiver. The motion on the floor from Commissioner McCann does not include a waiver. And I did address the fact that we do want to discuss having this waiver because I do think it's needed as far as the board is concerned. So if someone makes the motion of the original action item to include the possibility of a waiver, I think that will cover the ground, or we can do it separately. Me personally, I would like to do it separately because I want to indulge additional conversation in regards to the waiver. But it is the will of the body. But I think we do have an action item that we need to act on, and I'm hoping sooner rather than later.
I'll second it.
Okay. So the motion is, that this is the original action item, minus the waiver. Can you please open the machine for voting? Well, no, I do have some speakers. I'm sorry. I am so sorry. I'm so sorry. I have a lot of speakers. Commissioner Walker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You know, I view this as mobility on demand is actually more than a Band-Aid. This is an augmenting program that at this point in time needs to stay in place. And because I view, you know, this based on the public input and my own research, you know, access and mobility on demand are complementary. They augment and enhance each other. But I do agree with Commissioner Floyd in that I really think we do need to take a very hard look at the access program, because that's where the inefficiencies are. That's why we have mobility on demand, and I think we're going to need to do that. And that is our responsibility as the board. And finally, you know, it's very clear to me what the action item here is. And that action item is we are approving a contract vehicle. A contract vehicle is going to allow us to continue with this program, because really, at this point in time, right now, I see both programs needing to stay intact and in place. But again, it would be my request that we take a very hard look at the access program. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Commissioner Hazelton.
Oh. I'm not quite sure where we are on the motions.
I know,
don't think
I know.
I'm alone in that.
We'll clarify.
It does appear that everyone, or I shouldn't say everyone, that there is strong support for protecting PSTA with the waiver. I like the idea of approving for just a year, so that we have an opportunity as a board and staff to look at things like the access program for improvement. And I don't think any of us are considering doing away with mobility on demand, but it is a relatively new program. And if I'm not wrong, I think we're already operating, are we already operating on a one-year extension because the 5 years, is that
true?
Yes.
Okay, so we already had a 5-year period from a prior life that was approved on this exact program that we're talking about, and it was extended a year ago. So I don't think it's unreasonable to think of extending it for a year with a clean extension for 1 year to give us all the opportunity to work together to improve for you and others the access program with all the delays and inconveniences that have been noted, and I'm sure it's worse than that, and make sure that we go forward. And you know, also, PSTA, through Brad and staff's effort over the years, have been a leader nationally on this, so it's time to tweak. And I would like to see us go forward for 1 year and then come back and look at 5 years again. But do some fixes. So I think we have a motion and a second on the floor.
So let us get through the comments, because we got a whole lot of motion in, and I want to do this, and that's what's confusing everybody.
I'm not sure, I just want.
Yeah, so we'll move it.
You want to go to TJ Maxx, fine, that was just an example.
Commissioner Weaver.
I understand where Commissioner Nowicki is going, and I appreciate it. I appreciate the idea. This contract essentially binds us for 5 years. I mean, it's flawed. So perhaps 1 year is not enough. 5 years to me is too much. It just pushes us out far enough with a flawed program that we could have potentially repaired and improved. If perhaps there could be another motion that eliminated the three optional CEO-approved years, I would certainly support something like that. That would press upon us to improve, improve this contract and hopefully get us, to where we're all comfortable with it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And before we go to making a whole lot more motions, we have two other speakers, and upon the completion of those speaking, we do have a motion that is currently on the floor that's waiting for a second. So let us.
We got a second.
Oh, we did get a second. Who made the second?
Mr. Floyd.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't hear that second. Okay, so we're going to act on that first. Commissioner Peters.
So I'm not going to support the motion because of the waiver. I don't want the waiver absent. I want the waiver, if we're going to vote on it separate, that's fine. But I will be a no on that. I think we've had many board members give very good input as to why maybe 5 years isn't good. And I absolutely would not absent the waiver. That's a no-go for me. So I think the suggestion on taking the additional 1 years out, I think has merit. I think sometimes a fix might take more than 1 year, and I think as long as it's up to a max, we have plenty of time to, adjust a budget or whatever we have to do. So I'm definitely a no on the motion that's on the floor.
So Commissioner Peters, the motion on the floor is the original action item, and then we were going to take a second vote on the waiver itself. So it's not negating.
No, his motion is absent the waiver, is to not have the waiver. So if we vote for his motion, then we don't have another vote on the waiver.
We don't, okay, I missed that piece. All right, well, anyway, stop, hold on, come on. Commissioner Peters, have you yielded the floor?
No, I just wanted to, correct that because his motion says no waiver, and I think that's not responsible for PSTA.
Okay, got you. Thank you so much for that. Commissioner Scott.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Are you on?
There it is, yeah.
So I'm thinking along the same lines as Commissioner Weaver is here, is that I think we need to provide some certainty to the traveling public here that uses this program. But at the same time, I think we're all seeing some challenges with access that we want to take a deep dive and try to address the inefficiencies in that program. So I would be supportive of approving a 2-year contract, but ask that the option years come back to this board to provide us an opportunity to take a deeper dive into access and see if there are some things that we can do to tweak that program. So I don't know if the motion and seconders are open to a friendly amendment, or if we just want to see if this one passes or not, but that's kind of where I'm at with it, because I think that we need some more information on the access, but I don't think a year is long enough. I think we need to give the public some certainty that this program's going to be around for a while.
Okay, so I heard the question of the amendment, the commissioner making the motion to amend their motion. So we'll leave that there. Commissioner DeBreezy.
I want to see Commissioner McCann will amend his motion before I make my comment, because it might be moot at that point.
Okay, that's why I put it out there. Commissioner McCann.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My original motion did envision us having a second vote on the waiver after this. My original motion was to approve this, not subject to having no waiver in it, but I'm open to a friendly amendment to include the waiver in my motion, and I'm also open to a friendly amendment to have this be a 2-year contract without the 3 one-year options.
My second, do you agree?
Yes, I was envisioning it as a 2-year contract anyway to begin with. But if the options have to come back to the board, that's fine, yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. Commissioner Shear.
Well, I think we've solved the problem, so I'm going to be quiet.
All right, we currently have a motion on the floor. I see no further requests to speak. Can you please open the machine for voting? All right, so the motion passes 13-0. Thank you, everyone that came out and spoke today, and please know that your voices were heard, and we do appreciate it. And we are going to look at PST access for improvements on that. So again, thank you so much, and we really do appreciate you wanting to maintain your independence, because we really are here to provide the greatest of transportation in Pinellas County. So thank you for coming. Next, we're going to move on to 6B, PSTA's Federal Capital Program of Projects. And joining us is Debbie Leos, PSTA CFO, who will review the proposed federal program of projects that comprises of PSTA's fiscal 2027 capital program. Is it still morning? Good morning.
Yes, it is. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Chair and board members. 2 weeks ago, on May 13th, we held a public hearing here at PSTA on our federal fiscal year 26 program of projects. There were no comments made at the public hearing, but we did receive one written comment that is in your packet, very favorable to public transportation. With the program of projects, we are not required to have board approval on them, but I love to bring it every year to the board for approval. This year, we have $30.6 million from a variety of federal funds, as you see listed on the chart. I'm going to go over some of the larger areas which fund this, most of which are for normal replacements. We have in here about $16.9 million for replacement buses. We don't need the buses for the next couple years, but we always have to plan ahead because of the manufacturing time for the buses. So there'll be some good discussion, I'm sure, going forward on what type of buses we'll be looking at. We also have money set aside for preventative maintenance on the buses, including component parts similar to the Gillig or the Cummins engine you see on here, as well as monies to pay for the maintenance staff. We also have money set aside for computer hardware and software. Hardware would be things such as servers and core switches, very exciting things. And for the software, a lot of it is for upgrades or changes to existing software. But what is exciting, we've got a couple exciting things in the budget, and that is we have funds set aside for bus bays. Commissioner Scheer, thank you very much for bringing that to the forefront, because that's something we don't typically do, but it does provide a great element of safety. So we're looking at putting this in at Countryside Mall and also the Pinellas County Justice Center just down the street from us on 49th Street, and an additional one to be determined. So thank you very much for bringing that forward. We also have a pilot program we'll be bringing forward and then followed with transit signal prioritization. And with this deployment, we will be able to save time, and of course, saving time means saving money. So that's very important, I think, as we move forward from a technology aspect. We also have our usual passenger amenities of shelters, benches, the ADA landing pads on which the shelters sit, as well as signage and wayfinding. We also have our short-range planning. Now, you've heard Nicole Dufa come up here and talk about the ALT-19 study. We have $200,000 set aside. What's important to me, and I think you will like about this slide, is this is a decrease from prior years where we have anywhere from $500,000 to $800,000 set aside for consultants. So kudos to the planning department for bringing down the numbers for this year. We also get money for state of good repair, and essentially it goes to small tools and equipment. This money comes from us operating actually in Hillsborough County at the Marion Street Transfer Center. We also have funding that is passed through from the federal government through FDOT for mobility staff, and we have $118,000 for that. So the action item today I'm asking you to do is approve that we will put in the application for the variety of grants that you see on here for $30.6 million. And when we do so, we should have the money to start the fiscal year for '27. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Scherer.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate you bringing up the bus bays. And I was going to ask you about the need for new buses, because I thought we bought a lot of buses. So if we don't need $16 million for new buses, and I believe that, like you said, bus bays are it's a safety factor. Why can't we take $5 million off the buses and put them on new bus bays and actually get a bus bay program running in this county?
That is an excellent idea and something we can do. We do have our 2000, I believe it's our 2010 buses coming up for replacement in the near future. It's not tomorrow, it's not necessarily the next year. But what we do, and one of the things I like to do when we do these program or projects, our grants manager, who is Pam Wright, she's sitting in the back, does a great job of coming up with these general categories so that I have the ability to oftentimes move between the categories as the needs see fit. So that's something we could look at.
The feds will let you fungible that money into different programs if you want to? Or is it going to be specific to when you make the
What
application?
we do is we will go ahead and put in the program of projects, the items just as I listed out and as are in your packet. Some of the things are very simple to do. It's called a budget revision. Just move it around. Other things are a budget amendment. Takes a little bit more schmoozing of the federal government. Pam is excellent at doing that and getting it done. So we're here to be able to provide, and we can look at maybe perhaps more bus bays.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Commissioner DeBreezy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Clarify for me regarding the signal prioritization. I know we've had that discussion regarding the Alt-19 project and planning, but is that looking to be expanded to regular routes, or is that just specific to that project?
This specific one is going to be on the 34th Street Spark Service to start with. We're going to also look at Sunrunner, where we already have some TSP, but technology has improved. And then we can also look for that on our Alt-19 study.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no, not, at this time, not other.
I was going
not
to
other
say,
districts, yeah.
Although we may need one in Largo with your brand-new City Hall there, and it's fresh donuts.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner McCann.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just seeing that this is an action item, I want to go ahead and move approval of the recommended action item.
Okay, thank you. We did receive one supportive written comment that is in your packet. Is there anyone else from the public here wishing to speak? Okay, seeing none, we do have a motion. Has it been properly seconded?
Second.
Okay, can you please open the machine for voting? We're missing one.
We're missing.
Who are we missing?
He's pressing it.
Oh,
Oh, there we go.
There we go. Okay, thank you. The motion passes 13-0. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ms. Lales. So now we're going to move on to our report and correspondence and future meeting subjects. Brad, do you want to update us on the reports in our packet?
Thank you. Yes. Good morning. Thank you very much to everyone on the board for that good discussion about the PSA access programs. The only thing I'll add on that is, you have my commitment to make sure that we're always, I think we were all talking with the same goal of trying to make the best service for our riders in the most efficient way. And just a point on that. If you look at other cities and other transit systems, and every city in the United States has an obligation to provide paratransit. If you look across the bay at HART has almost a very similar sized budget to PSTA, and they have a very similar sized HART plus, I think they call it, paratransit budget, $18 million, just like us. They don't have a mobility on demand. They have about half the ridership that we have at PSTA for the same amount of money. I know that the program is very popular. I know when we do customer surveys of our access riders and in our benchmarking program, we are way above. We are #1 in customer satisfaction. Most people with disabilities do not like their paratransit system that in their city they live in. They complain about it. filled their rooms and complain about it. Ours is very, very popular. It's because of this mobility on-demand access. But it needs to be managed. It obviously needs to be, the costs need to be managed for that, the access, the whole thing. And we will do that. Based on your motion, we're going to look at the applicability and how we could do a waiver and bring this back. So thank you for that. In your packet is all the various reports. Ridership in the month of March was essentially flat compared to 1 year ago. There seemed to be just a little slightly lower ridership related to spring break and Clearwater Beach than a year ago, but Sunrunner was at an all-time high. It's the highest ridership on Sunrunner since fares were instituted 2.5 years ago. Farebox revenue, also something I know we've been talking a lot about. We also hit our highest actual real farebox money that we received from riders since the pandemic. In your packet is a new efficiency report that we went over at the Finance Committee as well. And this now reports the farebox, the true farebox received per route, and the net subsidy by route, which is separate because we get grants for certain routes and things. But this is a very, I think it's a really good report now that we've developed that's going to help us target efficiencies when we come time to balance our budget. Speaking of the budget, I hope all of you can join me at our second budget workshop on Friday, June 5th from 1 to 3 p.m. This will be our first look at the FY27 budget and a good opportunity to discuss the PSTA Access Program and other ways in which we can reduce costs, increase revenues to balance our budget. The completed draft of the recommended budget is going to be presented to the committees and the full board next month. That'll be the main item on the agenda next month. We'll have some other contracts related to our phone service and transportation disadvantage agreements with nonprofit organizations. And I'm hopeful that we will also have a proposed settlement agreement with the plaintiffs associated with the Clearwater Ferry. With that, Madam Chair?
Okay, does
Answer any
anyone
questions?
have any other questions for Mr. Miller?
I think Commissioner Scheer has a comment.
Okay, Commissioner Scheer.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that report, Brad. As budget season is coming up, I looked at these performance numbers that we got here, and I see several routes that are carrying less than 5,000 people per month, and then net subsidies, over $12.50 per ride. And, the voters and the taxpayers in this county are looking for reductions to their millage rates. So, I think as part of our budget discussion, we should look at some of these inefficient routes for possible elimination. And then I think it would be great if we had that option at the budget conference and talk about which routes, what we could save on which routes that are not being well used. I mean, they're just not. So, my number one complaint on my emails is that, the taxpayers I represent is that they're tired of seeing empty buses riding around town. So, if we could do that, we could save some money, and then we wouldn't have to worry so much about funding the services for our citizens that were here this morning. So anyway, I would appreciate if that would be part of the discussion on June 5th.
You read my mind. It will be.
Thank you.
Thank you. And you're not complaining, you just have concerns.
That's a concern.
Yeah, you do. All right, so any other requests to speak? Any other business that any board member would love to discuss? Any board member comments for today? Gosh, you guys are good, okay. So with that being said, we don't have any other comments. We don't have any other items that commissioners would like to speak on today. Our next meeting is June 24th at 9 a.m. And please, please put on your calendars if you can for the budget workshop so we can have that much needed conversation. And with that, thank you so much for your engaging conversation, and this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
How are you?